So, Imogen, thanks for having this conversation with us and welcome to Pazin. How do you like it so far?
I like Pazin very much. I haven't spent too long here, but what I've seen I think is beautiful, especially this pit, this natural cavern you have is gorgeous actually, and the castle of course. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Tell us something about how did you come to Europe and eventually in Croatia. What was your path?
Well, I left New Zealand, where I'm from, to study in England, and then from there I applied to continue studying. I'm studying history, and I am now in Budapest, in Hungary, finishing my MA. Fingers crossed, hopefully. Yeah.
What are your first impressions of Istri and of Croatia? How did a Kiwi girl manage here?
Well, Istria is beautiful. I've spent nearly 2 months here, and it's stunning. I know that it must be a different place in the summer than in the winter. People have told me that, but in the summertime it's gorgeous. I've never had such a hot summer. Sadly, you can't really see that I've had much of a summer. I'm still very pale, but no, it's amazing. It's beautiful. The people are incredibly friendly, and the food. I can't talk about the food enough, especially the seafood and everything, and the calamari and all this kind of thing. And it's been yeah, just great. Yeah.
What are the things that you like about Croatia and like about Istria, and what are maybe the things that you don't like?
Well, I mean, it's a different place. I mean, for me, I've been to a few places in Croatia, including Zagreb and some places further north, Čakovec, and I've been to Rijeka and Pula, and here is something particular, I think, and it's very, for me, Mediterranean, and the lifestyle here is something that I've not really encountered before. In the sense of, it strikes me again in the summertime as being very relaxed, very friendly. It's tourist friendly as well. There's a lot of people coming through. There's a lot to do as well. I mean, for me, there's a lot of activities. Last week, for example, I was swimming on the back of a horse with an organized group, and that was fantastic. I've never done anything like that before. And as I said, also the attitude towards food and everything like that for me is amazing, because I'm used to these kinds of situations where you don't spend a lot of time cooking and appreciating food and all that kind of thing. So this has been a summer truly of fun for me, and also of good food and good company. So yeah, it's beautiful, and Istria is a stunning place, and old as well. The other thing, I mean, as a historian, I love it purely because everywhere you turn is another fantastic, gorgeous old building, and it's beautiful. And that amphitheater in Pula is something truly special. So, yeah, great.
What would you say that you maybe don't like in Croatia? Maybe in the society? Maybe what are maybe the differences between Croatia and New Zealand?
There's a lot of differences between Croatia and New Zealand for sure. I mean, the language for one is a major one. My Croatian is non-existent, and yeah, I mean, I think so I don't like, for example, that I have to force other people to speak English. I'm a little bit uncomfortable with that, and that's my fault, no one else's. But but yeah, I would like to learn the language actually, if it's possible.
Maybe your boyfriend, Croatian can help.
Maybe a Croatian boyfriend should be a help with that. Yeah, definitely. In terms of things I don't like, I mean, I think as a tourist you probably see a very sunny version of everything. I mean, it's the same in New Zealand. You come to New Zealand, spend a couple of months, and go home and talk about how wonderful it is. But it's always different when you're from a place and you have been there long enough to see the troubles and the difficulties. And I know Croatia's probably at an interesting time, having just joined the EU and all these kinds of things. And I can't speak for what it would be like as a Croatian living, in Istria and Pula, wherever. And I imagine it comes with some difficulties. And also knowing now and having met lots of Croatians, I know that it's difficult. It can be difficult to survive here, finding work. It can be uncertain and unsettling. And I think probably I mean, New Zealand is a country that always benefits by comparison, always. But probably. I mean, I can speak for myself, probably you are more privileged when it comes to options, and I mean the fact that I'm able to come here, for example, where a lot of Croatians I know would not be able to pack bags and go to New Zealand for a holiday. It would be a bigger step.
Yeah. How much did you know about Croatia before coming here?
Not an awful lot, I confess. I mean, I know a little bit about its history. It's more recent history. I'm a modern historian, so I know something about the area. But I mean, in terms of
Did you find it on a map?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. It's the very oddly shaped, you know. It is shaped very strangely. Yeah. So I mean, I in terms of geography, I mean that's much improved. Having been here now, I can at least, you know, position various cities that I'd only heard of or read of, but I mean, if I can speak for, you know, it's people from New Zealand or something, I think probably not so much is known about Croatia, in the same way that often people don't know an awful lot about New Zealand. I mean, our countries have the 4 million population in common, so that's there's not many of us, and but certainly, I mean, yeah, I knew a little bit about it, definitely.
You spent a while now, a few months in Croatia. What would you say might be a stereotype of a typical Croat? Can you find a common feature in the people?
Well, if I'm going to talk about Croatians, I think I have to sort of say that for me, Croatian people are, well, they're very hospitable, they're very welcoming, they're charming. Speaking, you know, as a foreigner, I can say they're also very attractive, in the sense that, you know, I'm walking down the street and I see a lot of just beautiful people, you know, very kind, very caring, but also just physically very, very attractive. And for me, very tall and beautiful skin, and you know, and I've never felt so sort of Anglo-Saxon compared to this, you know, beautiful sort of. A place, and I jokingly say, you know, to friends and family that I'm in the land of the tall, tanned, and toned, and you know, but in every other sense, I mean, again, it's difficult to talk about what's maybe a typical Croatian. I'm sure probably Croatians feel the same way. We have the same problem in New Zealand. It's difficult to say what's typical, but I mean, yeah, having spent time with Croatian young people, I can say that. There's differences, for sure.
What sorts of differences?
Well, I guess it's just a question of the environment you've grown up in. I mean, I come from a sort of an island nation, and so as you grow up, you become quite aware of the fact that you've been growing up on an island, and you know, you want to travel and you want to go places and do lots of things. And I think we have a culture of this kind of overseas experience and spending time overseas. And here, I mean, you grow up. On the continent, so you have opportunities for travel you're close to other places and everything, but maybe you don't have such a strong tradition of, you know, leaving home quite early, and or maybe even, I don't know, sometimes it's a question of the possibility of doing that. But also you have, I mean, a longer history certainly, and a very different one, and there are factors here that may not have a direct impact on your life, but certainly probably somehow do. I mean, the fact that, for example, I don't know, Croatia is a Catholic country, whereas New Zealand's not, so there's religious elements there. As I said, you're older, you're geographically very different, you're politically different for obvious reasons. Again, language, all these sorts of things, and inevitably that creates a lot of differences, and it's no coincidence that you've grown up on a different part of the world. But at the same time, that's kind of great, because you can still have a lot in common, and that's the beauty of, I don't know, globalization or whatever you want to call it, that you and I can be sitting here and be friendly, and I can have, you know, a Croatian boyfriend, and it's not such a, it doesn't feel like such a massive hurdle or anything. But as I say, there are definitely some differences, yeah, for sure.
When we talked about stereotypes earlier, what's the situation in New Zealand, since you're an island country and a country of settlers? What's the identity question in New Zealand?
Well, I mean, New Zealand, like any other place, has its stereotypes, for sure. I mean, people tend to, if they think of New Zealanders at all, they think of them as, you know, I guess positively, you know, outgoing, friendly, maybe into nature. They think Lord of the Rings, hobbits, you know, all that kind of stuff that you get.
A colleague would say a hobbit land.
A hobbit land, yeah. And you know, that's. I always tell Croatians, like, be careful to call New Zealand hobbit land, because if you go overseas, maybe you'll get this, you know, Game of Thrones thing with Croatia. So you know, be careful. But yeah, I mean,
we have a fantasy series to brag about.
We have some things that, because we don't have a very long history or necessarily a shared history, or and because a lot of New Zealand's population is very diverse. I mean, here the majority of people who aren't tourists are Croatian, but in New Zealand, I mean, you're likely to spend a lot of time with people who look different, dress different, sound different, have different beliefs, different whatever, and so it's even harder to pinpoint what a New Zealander is. But there's certain things that bond us, like sport is a huge one, massive one. Again, we don't have a religious aspect so much, but you could say that sport's the religion, no doubt. Yeah, and things like that. Certain figures also can help with that kind of thing, and yeah, a sort of cultural attitude that's quite laid back, I guess, and yeah.
Lately in the media here in Croatia, we talked about New Zealand and Australia of some sort of promised land to go as a place to improve, to learn, to earn a lot of money. Are there opportunities for young people in New Zealand? What's your attitude about that?
Well, I mean, it's difficult for young people wherever you are, unfortunately, at the moment. I think in Europe things are difficult, and I would say that as a New Zealander in New Zealand, I probably would have more of a confidence in getting employment and these kinds of things than somebody might here, or I don't know, somewhere else in Europe, whether it be Germany, France, Britain, whatever. So I would say that there's certainly opportunities, and I wouldn't say it's easy by any stretch, but again, we can benefit by comparison. In terms of immigrants coming to Australia and New Zealand, it's a different story, as it always is, inevitably. In Australia, it's different to New Zealand, but it's very restrictive. The visa requirements are becoming tighter, as is well known, especially in the Australian case. And I don't know necessarily that you would fare much better, but at the same time, like, I can definitely appreciate that you know, there could be more opportunities in a place like New Zealand and Australia. If you can get there, if you can afford to get there, if you have the time to get there, it takes 2 to 3 days of travel. So if you want to make the effort, then yeah, then yes, there are still good opportunities for people, but not easy. No, no.
You're going back to Budapest in a few days to continue your studies. Are you coming back to Croatia?
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I would be very, very upset if I thought I could never come back to Croatia, which means I know that I will, so definitely. And I hope to spend even longer here at some point. Yeah, I'll come back if only for the calamari and cevapi and these things, so definitely. And I have to work on the Croatian. So.
Okay, thank you very much, and I'll see you then maybe next year, next summer.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Bye.